Starfield's Free Lanes update went live the other day to all players, and I'm here to give my thoughts on it. First off though, I do want to acknowledge that I may sound a little weird throughout this video. I had a wisdom tooth extraction done at the end of last week, and there's weird stuff going on with my face and my cheek, and I'm lisping occasionally. This is the best I've sounded all week so far, so apologies for anything like that, any weirdness, but let's just get into it and hope it's not too bad. Now for this free update, I do want to acknowledge that Free Lanes is a free update for all players who have Starfield, but from this there were two main parts of the update that I was really looking forward to: cruise travel and legendary rerolls. I'm going to focus on the legendary rerolls first because the legendary system sucks. I've made several videos about how I hate Bethesda's whole let's just throw randomness at things solution to loot. It's not good, it's really bad. The legendary system is terrible, I miss uniques, I love uniques, please come back uniques. But the legendary system in Starfield was especially bad, and now, with this update, you can reroll certain effects, which makes things a little bit better. So if you get the right base weapon, you can pay some credits. I'm going to have to remember what the currency is called every time. Pay some credits, and yeah, by paying credits and using X-Tech, which is a new resource you can find in containers, possibly on planets. The Starfield's whole junk resource thing is something else I complain about, but as long as you've got X-Tech and cash, then you can reroll legendary effects, which makes the grind a little less grindy. This is actually something 76 did a while back, though in Fallout 76 you can also craft specific and random legendary effects. 76 just did a much better system a couple of years ago, I want to say, so maybe in a few years' time Starfield will have caught up to a game that's like 4 years older than it. That'd be nice. But still, I do think that it's good that we're seeing a bit of progress on the legendary system, not making it just pure RNG, but instead pure RNG with a modicum of player control. That being said, the other weapon modding options are pretty good. There's a lot more than since I last played, and you can also upgrade weapon tiers now, so you can have standard, then calibrated, then whatever comes after that. They haven't numbered the tiers, they've named them, which can be a bit confusing, but it just makes your weapon better. And it means that if you do get a good legendary, you don't have to ditch it as soon as you start seeing calibrated weapons rather than just standard. You can upgrade it and it'll stay on par with everything else you're encountering. So I will say the weapon modding is good. They've improved it, they've just not improved it as much as they have in other games, which is weird. There are some slight issues still. I want to point out that the cutter's the best early game weapon, and it's the only weapon I used while playtesting this new update, so the weapon modding didn't come in handy for me. I actually did a whole cutter only challenge, like a playthrough video, just a one-off on the channel a long time ago, because yeah, it's a ridiculously powerful weapon to have early on due to the insane DPS you get out of it. So until you get to like late game weapons, or I suppose some mid game weapons, but early game the cutters are the best. So yeah, I didn't bother with weapons other than that. Additionally, if you do want to upgrade things to have them the way you want, if you find a specific weapon and you want to get all of the upgrades, you want to upgrade its tiers, you want to reroll the legendaries, you want to get specific ones on it, it's going to cost you a fortune. It is insanely expensive to have to work around just the random nature of the legendary system, so you're still going to be just better off lucking into the perfect weapon. It's like, sure, you might want a coachman shotgun that has like the perfect legendary effects to get extra damage and whatnot, but you could also just randomly find it in a chest in like some settlement in the middle of nowhere with no enemies, or you could pay like 15 million credits to get to that point. It's just frustrating. I will always find the legendary system frustrating, and while technically they've made an improvement here, it's a real minor one overall. Now, cruise travel is definitely the thing I was most excited for. I think that shipbuilding is hands down the best part of Starfield, and having an excuse to actually spend more time in your ship is great, because that's something Starfield was missing. Like, I complain about this game a lot, I have a lot of gripes with it, but hands down, shipbuilding is great. I have almost no notes on shipbuilding, and the notes I have are like the most nitpickiest, oh, this could be fun if you did this. There's nothing bad I have to say about shipbuilding. So spending more time in your ship, love the idea of that, and that's kind of what cruise travel is all about. The problem is, cruise travel's boring. So I engage with this a lot. This was what most of my playtesting was, just trying to find fun in cruise travel. And what happens is, when you engage the mode while you're in your ship, you just kind of fly through the solar system you're in. That's it. And you'll be seeing footage of it right now, and it is boring empty space for multiple minutes. Like, the shortest time I've flown through on cruise travel until something's happened has been 2 minutes. The longest I think was 10 minutes, I think I had it, of just nothing happening. And you'll see it's just plain black space, white star dots floating by. It's so visually uninteresting. It's terrible. Eventually, though, you'll maybe encounter something that you need to react to. And the encounters, they do seem fine to me. I have no problem so far with the encounters. The worst of them are like, oh, it's spacers fighting, or a smuggler who just wants to, like, barter with you. Or actually, the very worst one I found was just some abandoned loot. Like, there was a ship that had crashed or something, and it just had loot on it. And a little bit of context where it was like, oh, I was working for Ryujin and they've just abandoned me, and yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Like, the worst encounters are just kind of meh and unmemorable. But the best one I found was the old woman encounter, which I gotta hope it bugged out because she just kept talking and was being like, oh, I'm an old woman, won't you come to my ship? Oh, I'm an old woman, won't you come to my ship? Oh, I'm an old woman, won't you come to my ship? She was just doing that non-stop, so I was like, fine, I will head over. And that one was a lot of fun. I even got an achievement for it, which was nice. And I enjoyed that, but for all of these, it's at least like minimum 2 minutes of just waiting in cruise mode for a random encounter to happen. When instead you could just fast travel somewhere and possibly have a random encounter instead. And fast travel is the big reason why I think cruise travel just doesn't really work in the game. There is no real reason to cruise travel somewhere when you can fast travel instead. Because fast travel works in the same way, it's quicker, it's more efficient, it has no downside. The only reason to cruise travel is to try and get one of these random encounters, which means waiting like 2 to 10 minutes just with nothing happening. There's no actual reason to really use cruise mode, outside of like role-playing and a bit of immersion, which are valid reasons, but are not real gameplay justifiable reasons. The best thing you can really do while cruise mode is active is go around your ship and like decorate it or use the crafting benches while travelling to another planet in the same system, but you might get interrupted while doing so you can't actually get too invested in that. You can genuinely get like attacked while in cruise mode. It'll be like brr, brr, and it's kind of a cool moment, I do like it, but it means that you can't be invested in decorating your ship or going through the research station and fixing stuff up, because you could get attacked at any moment. So it'd be so much quicker and easier just to fast travel to the location you want to go to, have a quick loading screen, and then just do all your ship stuff while you're parked up there and are in complete safety. It's just, you have to play so suboptimally to make it at all enjoyable, and even then, it's like a modicum of, oh, this is neat, and it's like wasting so much time to get that moment of being like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. I really, really wish this was good. This was the thing I was looking for. I had my hopes up for Starfield. I was like, maybe I'll do a full challenge run on the second channel, and maybe I'll get back into the game and start doing builds and stuff. But in order for cruise travel to actually be worth it in some way, I think Bethesda would need to de-incentivize fast travel. My quick idea for that would be to like make it cost helium-free as a resource to jump to different planets in the same system, but cruise travel can get you there without expending the resource. It's just slower and there's a chance of being attacked. I also think people would kind of hate this because it's nerfing something that's already in the game, and gamers always hate nerfs, so yeah. Unfortunately, it's just not very good. I forced myself to use cruise travel regardless, just over and over again getting through it and seeing what happens, and it's just slow and boring. Like, you'll have been seeing the footage on screen, and I now want to switch to another game which has the same sort of system as this cruise travel, and it's called Rebel Galaxy. This game came out 10 years ago and shows that space can be beautiful, interesting, and rewarding to explore. I played 10 minutes of Rebel Galaxy, and it was miles more entertaining for every second than the hours I played of Starfield and Cruise Control. It's just, I'm flying around space and I'm avoiding encounters in Rebel Galaxy. I'm like, no, but just look at the vibrance of it all. It's not just a sheet of black with white dots all over it. There's reds and greens and blues and like these nebulas off in the distance. I fly through asteroid fields and it's like, oh, we're going to have to go out of warp drive or hyperdrive or whatever sci-fi term they use for it in order for you to navigate around the asteroid. And I do that and then I can go back into it, and it's just beautiful. Like, seriously, if you want the sort of experience that Cruise Control could have been, check out Rebel Galaxy. It probably costs next to nothing because it's over a decade old. It came out in 2015. So yeah, that game is just amazing for it and shows you that space doesn't need to be incredibly boring. The problem is, Starfield tries to be realistic, but in a way that the only realism elements make things more boring like they are in real life. I think the realism side of things really holds things back. I actually want to mention at this point that Artemis 2, like a real-life space thing, is going on. We had humans the furthest from Earth that we've ever had them. Very cool stuff. But if anyone, like myself, tuned into the livestream, there's a lot of boring nothing that happens when you're just travelling through space. Like, a lot of it, especially if you're not actively having to do stuff aboard a spaceship, it's just kind of like, yeah, we're floating through space, it's nothing. That's just what a lot of it is. And unfortunately Bethesda was like, yeah, that's the realism we're going for. Nothingness and boredom, and I don't know why. Bethesda either needs to double down on the realism parts and make the game more of a space sim, so make it like cost to jump between planets, or even grav drive like wears out and you have to repair it, stuff like that, make the game much harder, and just really add in some hardcore kind of mode stuff to it to make it a proper space sim where space travel is somewhat difficult and requires you to actually actively participate in it rather than just being able to fast travel everywhere. However, I know there'd be so much pushback to that, like I mentioned earlier, because it'd be nerfing the game. Or they need to focus on this being just more of a fun sci-fi game. Make powers and legendary effects more wild. We've got the Starborn stuff, we have legendary effects, just make them ridiculous. More of the wacky encounters, like the old woman who's kind of crazy and whatnot. Just more of that sort of stuff. Problem is, they're trying to do a bit of both at once, and it just doesn't really work. They're trying to add in more bits of realism, while also some more wackiness, and they're pulling in both directions, but not dedicating themselves to either, and it means Starfield just doesn't have much of an identity, and Free Lanes doubles down on that. Now, this update does come with other improvements, which I haven't really covered here, so I want to mention there's like an outpost sharing container, so if you have multiple outposts, if you put yourself through the rigmarole of building them, you do now have like a shared container where resources can be split between them, which is very good. Nice quality of life thing. There's a little alien pet. Love little alien pets. That's just outright good. There's also a new home you can purchase in an asteroid if you still have tons of money after all the upgrades. And they've added some additional POIs, points of interest on planets, so you're not constantly running into the same like ice tower every time. But that's all good stuff. Like, all of these little things they've added are good. And I do want to point out that this update overall makes the game better. The problem is, rather than do a full rework of the stuff that sucks about the game, they just keep trying to tweak and improve it a little bit here and there and just make it a tiny bit better each time, rather than just being like, okay, this didn't work, how are we going to redo it? They're like, no, we'll just modify it a tiny little bit. We'll give it the landlord special, you know? We'll just, yeah, this is bad, but we'll just paint over the cracks in the wall and the mould growing. And look, it's a new coat of paint. There we go, it is better now. And you're like, yeah, it's better, but you've not fixed the problem. And I feel like that with this update. It's just like, yes, you have improved things, but there's clearly a problem here that rather than fixing, you've just made slightly less of a problem, but it still exists. Now, I didn't get around to trying out the full Trackers Alliance questline, which is now in the game, or the Terran Armada DLC, though that one was because I tried to install it and it just didn't exist on launch day for me. It has popped up just now, but I was trying to install it and it just was like, nope, this doesn't exist, so yeah, I've not been able to try those out. If you would like to see me play them, or talk about them or whatever, let me know in the comments. I obviously am not particularly motivated to do that right now. Overall though, despite all of my moaning and complaining, yes, this is a good update that improves the game. I do want to get that message through. Even with me having so many issues, Starfield is now a better game now than it ever was before, and it's a better game today than it was a week ago. But it feels like a basic fix to bigger problems. That's the whole deal with it. I was really hoping to enjoy and get back into Starfield, because I did enjoy the game when it very first came out, but then I realised all the problems and how it wasn't fun to keep playing it. It was more just get through the story stuff, and then you've done it, rather than the big open world experience I'm used to with Bethesda. But now I have no real interest in playing anymore. My hopes were dashed pretty quickly with this one, and it's a real shame, because I got my hopes up, and I shouldn't have. I should have known better, but those are my thoughts on the update. Hopefully some of you are enjoying it more than I am. It's now on PlayStation as well, so anyone who's picked up the game on PlayStation, you're getting it at the time it's the best. That's something. I'm just gonna call things here, no big outro. Thanks for listening to me ramble while I'm not feeling too well. Hope you're all having a good week, and I'll be back to regular content in a week or two, hopefully. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.